It's time to bring in one of our favorite people.
Oh,
And I don't mean I don't even mean favorite guests. I just mean favorite people.
Oh, he's just perfect in every way.
From 24/7 Sports. He's our go-to recruiting guy. He asked me. I texted him last night to see if he would be on the show, and he asked, "What would you do if who would you get if I said no?" And I said we'd just stare blankly into the camera.
That's true.
Thank God we're not staring blankly into the camera. It's Gabe Brooks from 24/7 Sports. Hello, Gabe.
What's up?
How has today been for you?
I don't even know what day it is anymore.
This is typical Gabe Brooks. All right, Gabe. I want to ask you a little bit about the overall takeaways from today. We know that there's less action going on today as opposed to past signing days because of the early signing period. But what are your overall takeaways in the state of Texas for today's National Signing Day?
Well, I mean, the big storyline obviously is Texas doing what they did. The defensive back class, which everybody knew what they were going to get when they signed those guys in the early signing period. One of the biggest stories, I think, of this particular day is how the culmination of how they wound up getting Joseph Osai from Conroe Oak Ridge, who for months and months and months seemed bound for Texas A&M. But, you know, with the staff turnover at A&M and, you know, just credit to Texas staying on him, Texas wound up getting him. And that was one that, I mean, that, like I said, that seemed A&M for the greater part of the past year. So that was a big one for Texas. You know, Georgia is the story of the day nationally, and it's not often you see a Georgia signee from Texas. They're not one of the teams that is usually getting one or two or three guys from the state, like, you know, Bama or LSU or somebody out of the SEC, but they got Tommy Bush and won out over Baylor and Texas there at the end. So that, you know, that added to what was already going to be the number one class in the country.
We're talking with Gabe Brooks of 24/7 Sports here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Gabe, you know, we mentioned it off the top that this was going to be unlike any signing day that we've seen simply because of the early signing period that happened back in December. From your perspective, how was today different? You can give us a little bit of perspective. How was today different than maybe even last year or all the signing days? I know you're an OG of this recruiting game. How has this day been different from past signing days?
Well, it's very bizarre for sure compared to past signing days. The sheer number of guys was nowhere near what it usually is. I believe the early signing period that they were like 65 or 70% of the expected Power 5 conference signees signed. So, I mean, you know, the large majority of guys of the top 65, I guess, power conference programs had already signed. So a lot of the sheer numbers are out of the way, but there was a lot of drama with a lot of guys leading up to this. And I think that of the remaining guys leading up to today, and I think a lot of that has to do with there seemed to be a good number of that high 3-star caliber player who didn't have maybe as many options during the early signing period, that suddenly a lot of schools realized they had to have a guy at a certain spot, and that really ramped up the need for certain positions, certain types of players. I mean, Otito Obanaya, the D tackle from Katy Taylor, is a perfect example. Between the early signing period and National Signing Day, he got several new offers. Notre Dame, Tennessee, Nebraska, signed today with UCLA. So that he's a perfect example of that kind of thing. I think that was had a lot to do with the remaining few spots that power schools needed, and it really became a priority for them down the stretch with guys like that.
What was the biggest surprise for you? I know that you're a guy who has your finger very closely on the pulse of what happens here in the state of Texas. What was maybe the biggest surprise, the thing that happened today that made you kind of perk up and go, "Whoa, that's not what I expected"?
Well, as far as pertaining to this state directly, the one thing Texas didn't get, the Longhorns, that is, did not get today was Andrew Parker, who was a linebacker from New Orleans. And he had been committed since, I believe, January 21st to Arkansas. But everything, all the buzz behind the scenes suggested he was going to wind up with Texas, including all the people who cover Arkansas specifically thought he was going to wind up with Texas. And late this morning, he announced he was sticking with Arkansas. So that was kind of the one thing that really surprised everybody.
And then I know that you're a Carthage boy, born and bred.
Yeah.
You're a proud Carthage boy. Let's talk about your guy Keaontay Ingram. I know that he's been committed to Texas for a long time. A&M made a late push for him. He threw up the hook'em horns in running into the end zone for a touchdown in the state championship games. But it's not done until there's pen to paper. He does stick with Texas and signs with the Longhorns. From your perspective, and I know you don't have all the inside information, but you got a lot of it. Was it really ever in doubt that he was going to go to Texas, or what was the level of wavering as far as Keaontay Ingram is concerned?
I don't think there was much of any. I do think that he got to a point where, all right, so here's the thing. There's a lot of Texas fans who thought, and understandably so, it's like, well, he's not signing early, so that means, if he's not signing early, he's still open to other schools. Now, technically, I get it, yeah. The A&M thing materialized very quickly. It was last minute, and it gave him an opportunity to go on an official visit, which the only visit, official or unofficial, he had been on since last spring, was his official visit to Texas in early December. So it gave him a chance to go on a visit for fun. He got to take 3 teammates. His mom got to go with him. I understand when the Texas fans were kind of panicky when he didn't sign early. I get it. I never thought that he was going to sign anywhere but Texas, just because before he ever had an offer in the fall of his, early in the fall of his junior year, before he ever got an offer, if he said he could pick one place, that was where he wanted to go. So I kind of think all along it was going to be Texas no matter what. From my perspective, it's tough because I've known him since he's a freshman. I've known of him since he was an 8th grader. I grew up with a lot of his family. I had a lot of people who could provide me information, including him. So there was an issue of balancing fairness and objectivity and reporting duties with also looking after a guy who, he's my guy, and his family knows me, and that kind of thing. So it was fun. It was unique, and it was fun, and I loved it, and he looked out for me. But I will say there is a little bit of a weight off my shoulders that the number 1 running back in the state is signed, and no longer have the hometown weight on my shoulders of having to know every little thing that he does.
You're no longer getting text messages from all over the state saying, "Hey, what's the latest with Keaontay?"
Come on, we know you know.
Yeah, exactly. So then I want to know, Gabe, you're the recruiting OG in this state. I want to know, signing day's coming to a close, really. What are you gonna do in the next couple days?
Oh man. I mean, it immediately turns to the 2019 stuff. The camps start up in a couple of weeks. The 7-on-7 stuff's already going on. I mean, it's as year-round for us as it is for the coaches. As far as the recruiting never stops thing.
Yep.
It really, like the off-season schedule, the quote-unquote off-season, March through the first half of July. There's really more kind of hectic activity than there is during the season, just because during the season You have games every week. You have official visits on the weekend. Everything's kind of scheduled and orderly. So the next few months, the pressure's not there of the signing day stuff, but there's still, like, as far as keeping up with stuff, there's a ton of stuff to keep up with.
He's Gabe Brooks. He is the OG of recruiting. Follow him on Twitter at Gabriel D. Brooks. Gabe, appreciate your time. At least take a night and go to, like, Dan Silverleaf or something like that.
Yeah, Dan Silverleaf, baby.
And
that'll be happening.
And just relax for a little bit.
That'll be happening. You don't have to worry about that.
Thanks, Gabe.
Appreciate y'all.
There he goes, Gabe Brooks, 247sports.com. Gabriel D. Brooks on Twitter. He's our boy.
Yep.
One of our favorite people.
Yep.
We appreciate his insights. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird for him, right? Is that here's one of the most talked about recruits in the state, right?
Oh yeah, that guy,
Keaonta Ingram, and he's like tight with him.
Yep.
Like he knows his family because he's from there, and that's not him, like, you know, getting in real tight with the family. It's like he knows
He just knows him
from like down the street in Carthage. And so it had to have been an odd situation for him, you know, having all this kind of not insider information, but having all this like access, and yet also wanting to do right by the kid, right, and make it his decision. So we appreciate Gabe Brooks hopping on with us and talking a little bit of recruiting for us.